Hey guys, Matt Allen, Tim Little, welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today we are going to tell you one of those stories. Man, heartbreak. And here we are in California, and straight up, we're a couple of whiners today, because we're about to tell you the miserable story of how we ended a tournament in second place, right?
With like 61 pounds for 2 days.
So it wasn't that bad, and yet it so was. It was that bad. Let's tell day two first. So it was a 2-day event. Springtime tournament, 2-day event. Day two, we got her done.
Well, back up a little bit. This is Lake County, Clear Lakes in Lake County. So every year the Chamber of Commerce puts on a tournament just to get everybody out on the lake, and it's a great tournament to fish. So if you guys have never fished that tournament, come on out. It's in the springtime. It's a great tournament to fish, and it's actually one of the last tournaments. It's actually the last tournament we ever fished together.
We fished, yeah.
But anyways, go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good. So it's a 2-day tournament. Day one is when the disaster went down. So we're gonna end with that. But the tournament itself, we did end in second place. And short version of how that went down on day two is we were on this school of fish and we knew it. We were struggling to get them to eat. You remember that? It was we had these fish going, but you got to understand, now you're on a school of fish. All of a sudden, there's 100+ boats,
160+ boats,
160+ boats. Everything starts falling apart. So all this pressure, these fish just shut down. But on day two, that was the day of adapting, man. I feel like that was one of those days I will never forget, where I feel like the two of us put our heads together, tried new things, tried different things, and just put on a clinic when we shouldn't have.
Right.
I mean, those fish were shut down in a crowd of boats. Why don't you just fire us off? How did day two start? How about that?
Well, day two started
First boat out.
First boat out. So how this tournament works, when you sign up for the tournament, you get a number. It's not like a random boat draw or anything. It's 1 through 200, however many boats it was. And it's always, the locals, it's always hold out and see who can get the last boat out on first day. So on day two, you can be the first boat out. So day two started with us being the very first boat out, which means day one, we are the very last boat out, and that's why everything kind of fell apart. But day two, we completely scrapped what we did day one. We were going to completely leave the fish that we had found, and we were just going to go fish in a completely different area of the lake because it was so crowded where we were fishing on day one. So here we are, boat one, hammer down, we're flying. We make a stop on mid-lake somewhere, and all of a sudden we're fishing, and boat after boat, everybody had the same idea we did. And we're like, hold up. We just watched 3/4 of the field just blow past us down this way, maybe where we want to fish is going to have less pressure today.
Yeah.
So we turn around, call an audible, run back, and we know where the fish are. Now we just have to figure out how to make them eat. And we're scratching our heads. We're throwing this, we're throwing that, we're throwing big baits, we're throwing everything. And finally picked up a square bill and got that reaction bite going in the grass. And right off the bat, Matt stuck like a 7. We didn't have any giants. I think we ended the day with
clones.
We had just under 34 pounds.
I think our big fish was like 7.2 and our little fish was like 6.7 or 6.8. They were clones.
Clones, a bunch of them. We had big bag for the tournament on day two. For the entire 2-day tournament, I think we had 34 and change or something like that. But our big fish was not even a high 7. It was just an average 7 with a bunch of low 7 or a few low 7s and some high 6s. But just an epic beatdown. 3rd place finisher, I think 4th and 5th place finisher, all watched it go down right in front of them. They're mumbling stuff, So it was a great time. I'll let you get into the details.
It was just one of those days where we adapted and everything went right. We were first boat out, headed south, decided to flip a U-turn, ended up being the last boat north, still got on our school of fish. What we didn't mention was that those square bills, when I picked one up, I'm like tearing my boat apart because we're not getting bit. I'm like, there's got to be something in here that will work. Get a square bill out. It works. And Tim's like, give me one of those. We opened the boat up. We literally had two square bills in the boat. I'm throwing red.
I got like a
he's
chartreuse
throwing
white,
white.
or something. Yeah.
Right? And that was all we had. We had no ability to change from that. It was not our plan for the day. The other thing that they ate was that A-ring.
Right off
Remember
the bat.
burning it. And it was that same deal where it's like they won't eat, they won't eat. I remembered a guide trip the year before where I had a guy who was just fishing like a crazy speed and it was working. And it just popped in my head because I was so desperate. I start burning this A-rig literally as fast as I can go on a 7-to-1. I pull it out of the water. We had a 6 come out, eat it airborne, and then hit the side of the trolling motor, fall back in the water. I picked it back up and he netted it.
Yep.
I mean, it was just that day. So that was day 2, which ultimately put us in 2nd place of that tournament, despite our complete and utter disaster on day 1. Let's re-gear.
Okay.
Let's talk day 1. Day 1, last boat out.
Day 1, yeah, it was 160 something plus boats. And that time of the year, everybody, you know, there's 5 or 6 key areas that people are going to fish. You're fishing creeks, you're fishing, you know, flats. And we knew where we were going, and we had the fish dialed. We knew what cast to make, we knew what grass patch they were sitting in, but we just had to get there. So here we are, we blast off. I mean, the lake looks like, it feels like the ocean because there's 159 boats in front of us. But we pull up to this spot, and I kid you not, there's like 22 boats sitting in a circumference maybe 100 yards.
Yeah, 100 yards by 100 yards.
I mean, it is.
We're counting them on our way in.
We're combat fishing, right? So we drop the trolling motor, and we don't even have a rod in our hand, and we just sit on the trolling motor, and we just start zigzagging. Hey, how's it going? You know, hey, you know, can we get by?
Tournament's in full swing. Everyone else is fishing.
Yeah,
We're
they're
just cruising.
casting. We're talking. You know, 10 minutes goes by, and we're getting close. We're getting in that range where we know the fish are sitting, right? So we chit-chat with a couple of boats nearby, make sure things are all good, we can fish there and everything. And then Matt and I each pick up a rod. Matt. I set into one, he sets into one, all boats go whoop.
So we weave through 22 boats, no one set a hook.
Right.
We finally position the boat, ask permission, everybody doesn't care because no one's catching fish. Back to back, boom, boom, and man, they just
lines are
crisscrossing
flying
lines
everywhere, and we're like, all right guys, see ya. We literally caught the 2 fish and bounced.
Put the trolling motor, turned around, right back out through the boats and took off.
And they were good fish. I don't know if they were like 4s, 4.5s or something like that, but that's how it started. It started off good, and then
it kept going good for a little while. We ran, got on our next spot, started throwing the glide bait. We were throwing a...
No, I thought we were throwing A-rigs first.
Oh, we did. We pulled up, started just covering water with the rig.
We were trying, so with all this boat pressure, we know the fish are gonna they're gonna lock down and shut down, or they're gonna scatter, right? So we started covering water, burning A-rigs, and
man, there were boats everywhere. And it was a zoo.
Again, I think I was using your rod. I have this is how this story's gonna unfold. Me using his gear, it just never works. You guys know that we have different opinions on rods and reels and all that sort of stuff. So this story's just gonna, that's where a lot of this comes from.
So he finally picked up the perfect rod, right? He stopped using his garbage. He picked up the perfect rod to throw a glide bait on.
Oh, I wasn't even going with the glide bait. That's
we're not there yet.
Yeah, this is the part where
this is the screw up before the real screw up.
So he catches a good one. He catches like a 5 or a 6 on an A-rig. And you know, these fish are schooling up, so hop, hop, boom, and it breaks off. I got slammed.
Oh, I forgot about that fish. Man, you blew it twice that day.
Yes, I did. The point of this story is we lost this tournament by less than 1/4 of a pound, and we're sticking big ones, right? So any one of these fish that I break off or fold out hooks on would have sealed the deal. So anyway, so yeah, he sets into a good one. I set and break off, and it didn't really mean much right then.
Right, it wasn't a big deal because we were still on point.
We were still on point. We knew we had other fish going, and we run to our next spot. And this is close to the same spot on day 2 where we stroke them, right? Well, I'm throwing a Gancraft 230. It's a big glide bait. It's a big bait for big fish, right? And again, I am throwing his rod, his reel, not really familiar with it. He's got this.
We just had so much gear on the deck.
Well,
We just grabbed the rod.
Right, and I grabbed his rod, fired it out there, and I'm just creeping this big glide bait, right? Twitch, twitch, dong!
Oh man!
I set into this fish, and I'm throwing an 807, so it's 8-foot 7-power rod. It's a HUD rod. It's a big swim bait rod. Calcutta 400
Braid,
80-pound braid to 30-pound mono, and I hammer this fish, and immediately rod doubles over. I'm like kind of shaking. I'm trying to turn a handle on a Calcutta 400, and it won't turn. And he's like, reel, reel, reel. And I'm like, I can't. What? There's something wrong with your reel. And I'm trying to reel this stupid fish in on his crap.
and there was nothing wrong with that reel. That fish was so big. It had that thing locked. In my entire fishing career, I've seen a Calcutta lock up 3 times. That's it, 3 times ever. This was one of them.
And yeah, I'm sitting there, and then tink, gone. And I'm like, what? What just happened? I look over this boat over here, and he's just shaking his head. And I'm like, I reel up the bait, and it's got Owner 3X 1/0 treble hooks.
2/0.
2/0.
2/0.
Folded out.
You can't bend those. If you don't know what those are, you can hook that to a boat and stop them when they drive by.
So the first fish that I broke off on the A-rig didn't sting at all. That fish stung because it was a giant. It was in a giant spot. I mean,
right where it should have been.
It should have been there. It ate when it should have ate. And I was using the rod that I wasn't used to. And I like to throw my treble hook baits on a little bit lighter rod, play them a little bit. Anyways, that one stung. I knew that I'd cost us, at least for that day.
Now mind you, when that fish didn't come in the boat, we weighed in a 2-pounder. We had a 2-pounder in the bag because of that fish. That was like a straight up, we'll say a 9 to 11 pound upgrade that didn't come into the boat.
And we weighed like, what did we have, like 24 pounds the first day?
Yeah, with a friggin' 2-pounder.
Yeah, we had 24, 25 pounds the first day, and I think we were like 17th or 18th on day 1, and a 2-pounder, like Matt said, a 2-pounder. That A-rig fish could have given us a couple pounds. That
any of them could have done it. Any of them could have called a 2-pounder, but it's all good. Yeah, day 2 when we pulled it back together, and that we regrouped hard for day 2, and it started out so bad.
I was bummed.
Yeah,
I don't like to lose big fish, let alone in a tournament. And that I've hooked into a couple fish like that, and so far all 3 of them have not went my way. But this one was in a tournament when there's money on the line and bragging rights on the line, and so I was really bummed. So day 2, we pulled the plug. We scrapped everything. We're gonna run to a completely different end of the lake and just fish, right?
And that's when we flipped that U-turn. So I mean, our brains were just scattered. We're like, forget it. We're going to the other end of the lake. We're done with this. We're not throwing the big bait. And that's when all those boats started passing us, and then we just had that moment where we were like, maybe we should flip a U-turn. Came back, put it all together, ended in 2nd place
by less than 1/4 pound.
Day 2 had big bag by 7 pounds. I mean, that's how big that turnaround was. Just wasn't quite enough. But you know, guys, with these stories, we don't like standing here telling you about the times we screwed up, obviously, but everyone likes to hear them. But my takeaway for this stuff is when we sit down and we do like seminar style videos with you, and we're doing like that heavy teaching, you guys don't know where that knowledge came from, right? Like if Tim's giving you a lecture on which size treble hook you should be using, you don't know it's because he dumped some giant fish in a tournament. You just know that he's confident in what he should be using. So while these stories suck for us to tell,
they really suck.
They suck.
I'm like pissed off right now.
Right. We might not get along once we turn the camera off. We might have to have another talk about losing that fish. But seriously, this is the stuff where the knowledge came from to be able to teach you guys. And we do enjoy that aspect of it, that you get to see some of that background where the confidence came from to teach. So we hope you guys enjoyed this completely screwed up video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one, guys.